This video is gonna get so hard demonetized, but it is what it is. Hey y'all, welcome back to Ramblin' Mama. I'm Lisa. If you're new here and you're into deep dives on true crime, please consider giving me a subscribe. I think you'll like what you see. I wanna thank y'all for your extreme patience in my recent uploading schedule. I was on a roll there for a while, doing one consistently every week and sometimes two. But recently things have been really picking up in my life outside of YouTube, and it's all good stuff, but it's taking the lion's share of my time. So I think a more realistic uploading schedule for me is probably gonna be twice a month. So I'm sorry if that's disappointing to you. That's not what my end game is. I just foresee it being for this transitional time, maybe like the next 3 months or so. Today I wanted to talk about The Sound of Freedom. I haven't seen the film yet. I plan on going to see it in the next week or two. Originally, I was going to do my top 3 true crime movies based on true stories. And it's interesting that this film, The Sound of Freedom, is blowing up in the interim. And I just think there's some things that we really need to talk about regarding it. Yeah, this is tough. This video might be triggering to you if you're the type of person who is okay with language such as minor attractive person and other propaganda tactics like that. I know I've never really gotten this real, I guess, in a video before, or I've never gotten this, I guess, controversial. This is a subject that I think is really essential for people to draw a hard line on and to not get lost in the weeds of tolerance and putting a spin on awful things. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this before I even saw the film is it's so disturbing to see the mainstream media attack that's going on against this film right now. I feel like we shouldn't be surprised because the mainstream media is basically just glorified pimps. They're peddlers of fear and hate. So the media is gonna do what the media is gonna do. And I guess you can't hate a snake for being a snake, but publications like Rolling Stone and CNN going so hard against this film.
Because he doesn't really hide his association with this real wild plot that involves, drinking the blood of children and things like that.
No, he doesn't hide it at all. And you have a lot of people who are in this world of QAnon who say, oh, they don't know what that is. They've never heard of it. They're just asking questions. With somebody like Jim Caviezel, he is openly embracing it. He's openly using its catchphrases and its concepts. He's speaking at QAnon conventions. And this film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe all of the same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
Sure. And the most durable and the most believable conspiracy theories are not entirely false. There's something in them that is true and the rest of it is false. But the believers point to the one true thing and they say, oh, you don't believe that this particular thing is true. In terms of child trafficking, we know trafficking is real. We know it has real victims. No one is denying that. But these films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites, and only people like Tim Ballard and only people like Jim Caviezel, and by extension, only people like the ticket buyer can help bring these trafficking rings down. So there's a very participatory element. You're not just going to see a movie, you're just killing 2 hours on a hot day. You are helping bring down these pedophile rings and save children. Now, it's not true, but it's a very comforting and it's a very warm feeling to have.
And trying to turn it into a political issue, I understand the connection of Jim Caviezel with QAnon, and that's very unfortunate. And in no way do I align myself with any of those views. I feel like at this point, most people don't. It's very disturbing to me to see Rolling Stone, the publication that so readily celebrated cuties. So disturbing, but I guess, again, Rolling Stone's gonna do what Rolling Stone's gonna do, which is, I guess, be very tolerant to inappropriate sexual behavior regarding children and vilify people who are trying to protect children. So if you are a person like that, or if you align yourself with publications like that, this is not a safe space for you. So you can click off, unsubscribe, do whatever you gotta do. I'll leave it at that. I just want to read some facts because I feel like so much of the spin is that there's a moral panic around this, which again, that's really the irony of this, that these are the very peddlers of fear and panic. Anyway, so here are the stats. There are 27.6 million trafficked people globally today, and almost 20% of them are children. I feel like the 20% is probably an underreported percentage of it, but there we are. Approximately 350,000 children are reported missing every year in the US. Of that total, an estimated 100,000 of them are trafficked. So 1/3 of the children that you see go missing on all these true crime videos that we watch, on all the news that we see, child gone missing, about 1 in 3 of those kids has been trafficked. Child sex trafficking has been reported in all 50 states. So no matter where you live, if you live in the United States, there is child sex trafficking happening in your state. The 2021 Federal Human Trafficking Report stated that 50% of US human trafficking victims were minors. A preconceived notion that I used to have of trafficking, and the reason that I'm talking about this and the reason that I think it's so important to go see the film, is that maybe you share this. Up until now, every time I heard trafficking, I thought of, I think it was like The Wire, the season near the shipyard where they had the containers and they find all these deceased people in them, and it's mostly young women. I always thought, when I heard trafficking, I always thought the image that came to mind was a young woman from a foreign country, mostly Eastern Europe, who was between the ages of 16 and maybe her mid-20s. Again, I'm not trying to say that that's okay for those people to get trafficked at all. All of this is modern day slavery. And like Tim Ballard points out, I know in growing up in the South, we had a lot of required reading that was about American slavery. And every summer there was at least one required reading book that was about those times. And I remember thinking, and so many people saying, I would have been an abolitionist. I would have assisted with the Underground Railroad. And you read about these atrocities and your heart breaks, and you can't believe that people stood by this and allowed this to happen. And Tim Ballard points out, this is actually occurring right now. This isn't the Holocaust. This isn't American slavery. Well, it is, but it's not pre-Civil War American slavery. This is actually occurring on American soil and all around the world in numbers that you can't even fathom. And you can actually do something about it. If you are a person that felt that way when you were studying the Holocaust or the Atlantic slave trade, this is your time. They're really pushing for people to go see it so that they can spread into more theaters around the United States. And the more demand there is, the more they're able to do that. So I'm gonna link the website below. If you are unable to afford to go see it, there have been millions of people who have already donated tickets and they're ready to be claimed for you. And they make it very easy. You just click, you wanna claim your ticket, you put in your local zip code and it populates with all the movie theaters near you where you can go, and it takes you through all those prompts and you get a free ticket. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Have y'all seen this film? Man, I've heard stories from it, and I've watched a lot of talks at this point that Tim Ballard has given, and I know there's like a big movement to discredit him, which is crazy to me. To me, it's very clear that he wants the focus to be on the mission, on his company that he put together, and the urgency of it is so clear to me. And really, you really have to question a culture or an aspect of the culture that vehemently goes after people who are trying to end child sex trafficking. It is so disturbing to me, and there is no gray area in that. You enable it and allow certain policies to come into play that makes it softer, easier on this type of behavior, whether it's grooming or otherwise, or you stand firmly against it. And one statistic that was shocking to read is 55% of the victims that were trafficked in 2015 met the person that they were trafficked by via text, app, or on the internet. In short, this problem is so much worse than I ever imagined. I understand that people want to bury their heads in the sand on this, especially if you have children. It's nightmarish to think about what is actually going on. And it's not just trafficking, it's organ harvesting, it's awful stuff. Dude, this video is gonna get so hard demonetized, but it is what it is. It's absolutely like the sixth ring of hell, the stuff that these kids are going through. And of course, there's a point where it does get exploitative to talk about it in graphic detail. From what I understand in the film, they're very tasteful. They're not making exploitative material about children. They're doing it in a very artful way. But I'm saying that it's easy to want to bury your head in the sand on this because it's so awful and you don't want to think about it. And if you are a caretaker of children, it's unfathomable. And to think that some kids are living this hellish reality day in and day out, and that's their reality. It's so important for us to band together to fight this, to end this, to do everything that we can in our power to stop this suffering that's happening worldwide. Hopefully I wasn't on a soapbox too much. I just wanted to share how I really feel about that and how appalled I was at the media coverage that I was seeing. And I hope my subscribers or people who find me and like watching my videos are like-minded, and if so, please comment below. Have you seen this film? What did you think of it? If you haven't seen it, do you plan on seeing it? Did you know about this awful reality, that it was as widespread as it is? Oh, and that America is the top consumer of child exploitation materials. Yeah, anyway, there's no good way to end this video. Thank y'all for watching, and I really appreciate your support always, especially when I'm not uploading as often. And I'm always open to hearing about suggestions that you have for future videos in the comments below. Please keep it respectful, and I'll see y'all later.